Hello and welcome to Real Talk. I'm so excited for our super special conversation today. I'd love to welcome our very special guest.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome,
I
welcome.
am I'm Chido, Samantha, and I am an online business strategist and newly certified digital wellness practitioner. And in my day job, I love to help online business owners earn more and sell more online. And now, with in coupling with my digital wellness, I really want to help them learn how to flourish digitally as we work with online.
It's so important that we're combining the digital flourishing and the social connection. And I'm
Mhm.
curious to learn from your experience working firsthand in the trenches of social media of what's really worked for you, especially now applying everything that you learned in the certification course.
Yeah, I mean, I took the digital wellness certificate because, like most of us, COVID, it was a very unique time because COVID happened and I was feeling overwhelmed and I was going through digital distress. I was going through tech overload with trying to keep up with current events and work at the same time. It was a lot at that time. But now when I reflect back, I think when people who work online, social media, online business owners, we've been searching for this magic bullet of work life balance. And it wasn't until I took the digital wellness certificate, I realized, oh, we are kind of unique because we work on our tech. That's a whole nother layer of wellness that I don't think my eyes were open to. I just thought it was life, right? Your diet, your health. But when you put in tech as another factor, it really made sense of why we were so overwhelmed and that we were never really equipped for this life of working virtually in a healthy way. I found that there was such a gap in our behaviors, our habits, our awareness to what working remotely and digitally and online really meant to our wellness. So that was eye opening. When I looked at the course and when I went through the whole course curriculum, it was amazing.
I'm so glad to hear that that was a pivotal turning point for you because I feel like for so long, wellness for many did not include
Mhm.
technology or digital. However, our lives are so intertwined that we need to evolve to incorporate these practices.
Absolutely. And I think this something like a light bulb went in my head. Like I got it. I was like, oh, this is what's been missing. I think a lot of people who work online who are stressed, they think of focus and productivity, right? We think it's a focus thing, but when you see that it encompasses so much more, and focus is kind of our like low threshold of desire. It's like I just want to get more focus so I can get this work done. But when you peel back the layers, there's so much beauty when you learn how to digitally flourish that brings so much joy in your life and meaning. And it was really transformative to see all these layers reveal itself.
I appreciate you mentioning the layers because that's something I find myself thinking of as a metaphor often because in the first layer, it could just be how is your desktop organized or are you distracted
Mhm.
from your notifications? And yes, those are great initial steps to get started with practicing what does digital wellness feel like, but there's so many deeper layers to that hierarchy of needs of trying to feel connected with our social community and all these
Mhm.
things. And then when you take a step back, it's like, well, imagine if all of my social accounts just disappeared and they just got deleted. What would I do? And it's
And
those moments that's like, what?
absolutely. And I think and I even shifted my thinking is like, it's not about us like stepping away from tech or having less tech. It's like, what do we do when we are not on our tech? And I found that was the crux because I think if we all threw our phones in the ocean and we and stepped away, I don't think we would know what to do. I think we have to train our brain, our habits to want to do something else besides look at a phone or be connected, which is very sad, but I'm trying now to be mindful of what do I want to do when I'm not on my phone so I don't think about it or on social media. So that was very different thinking I had to transition to.
Absolutely. And there's certainly a spectrum of tech usage of that full digital detox of no technology to
Mhm.
over tech use. And we're definitely striving to be in the middle of that digital flourishing space. But it's
Mhm.
so interesting to think about what if I didn't have my technology? And that often comes to mind when I'm driving somewhere. I'm like, how did people get directions before Google Maps and Waze? Like,
Right?
oh yeah, you just go there and make a right. I'm like, but how do you remember?
Right? Oh my goodness. Tech is a beautiful thing, right? It's such a gift, but and we are definitely struggling with the perils. And I think we all have our different struggles. And like you said, it's what is your layer, what is your struggle that you want to overcome? And then it just snowballs from that.
Absolutely. So I'm really curious with your social media expertise of what has
Mhm.
really given you hope for the future of technology and how you use it to flourish.
Mhm. I know the way I want to support online business owners, virtual teams, remote workers, is I've figured that the three places that we find digital distress, it's either in the internet, it's on our smartphone or social media. So depending where you are, you're gonna probably have your weaknesses on one of them. And for a lot of my friends, when I have this discussion or my peers, it's social media. And I think we've originally wanted to use social media for connection, for community, and it is a tool for marketing. So for a lot of us, I'm a marketer, so it is a tool to reach people, and it's how we serve. I was having this conversation with another online marketer, and she's like, after Social Dilemma, I felt so much conflict. And I was like, well, we use it for good. We are trying to connect to our people. We're not trying to manipulate messaging, but we want our products, our services to get in front of the right people. So I think anyone who's in marketing right now, it's kind of like, I want to serve, but I kind of understand that this is sometimes not a healthy platform. And I think it's how you want to approach social media. It's more about, I think of it as a tool for good or bad. As soon as I feel bad from social media, that's my cue to be like, I shouldn't be on right now. It's not something bringing me joy. But when I think of when I get inspired on someone's account or when I make great connections and friends, oh, that's when it's for good. So I always check myself and feel like, how do I feel? Because I feel like my emotions kind of tap into my relationship with social media. And that is kind of my compass right now.
I love that internal compass of how you feel when you're using the technology because it really depends. It's so situational. And when we connect to that intention of are we using it for a good purpose with intentionality to share a resource with somebody that's looking for a particular service, that feels more aligned rather than just, the scary things in the movies.
Yeah, right. So all my peers are feeling, trying to reconcile with what we do and how we show up in social media. But I think it's usually how we feel about it that kind of dictates what we do. If I'm using to mindlessly scroll and I'm not sleeping well, I don't think that's a social media thing. That's me saying, hey, there's something probably going on in my life, or that's making me binge social media. So I usually check myself first and let my feelings dictate like how I want to show up a little before I, click all these apps that are fighting for my attention.
I appreciate that so much because oftentimes when we go to reach for the phone or chocolate or anything else that's, curbing that craving, there's often that underlying need that we're not ready to deal with. So when we pause and take a moment of, what is it that my body, my internal compass is craving and searching for, then we
Mhm.
can connect. And oftentimes I've been trying to challenge myself to just give myself a hug because sometimes we're reaching for the phone for that external validation, for that sense of belonging, or the
Mhm.
list goes on. And often that answer is inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely being mindful. Social media is definitely a mindful practice and relationship I have to have.
I love it. And with the new technology and apps coming out, I know you reached out about Clubhouse, and I'm
Oh my
curious
gosh.
what your
Are
gut
you
feelings
loving
are
it?
about it.
Are you loving it?
I'm just dabbling into it, so I really was looking forward to our conversation today to
Okay.
dive more in.
Uh, I'm definitely gonna pull you into a Clubhouse room with me on digital wellness. The reason I like Clubhouse is because podcasts are a big thing, and the best way I describe Clubhouse is like a podcast, but you can actually join live in that podcast. It's so fun because you don't need to be looking at it. It's not another screen. It can be an audio, so it's one. it's not visually stimulating, right? You're mostly engaging in the conversation, which is really, I think, the best thing because I don't need to be looking at it. So the fact that it's less screen, and the fact that so many people are gravitating to a place where like it's actually valuable. What I like about Clubhouse, it's not filtered with beautiful pictures and pre-planned, reels. People can find someone who's not real on Clubhouse. Like it's a place where your authenticity is really the currency, because if you're not authentic, if you're not giving value, people will leave your room. I think that's a good indicator if you're giving value. And I don't think there's any app that's been that transparent or pushes us to be that authentic, because it's real time, live discussion, people's emotions are real, and it captures that. So it's very
I love
interesting.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And even just when you're enrolling, the fact that you need to connect it to your phone number, I feel like those initiation sequences really demonstrate that you're an actual human and not just a robot.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a number. It's not connected to another Facebook app. So they're not pulling data from Facebook about you. It's just your number. And even the algorithms, it's still in its purest form because it's as we talk right now, it's in beta. So there's no advertising. It's the only social media app that's not pay to play right now. There's no algorithms. The algorithm is just more based on who you follow, but it's not as controlled as the other ones, right? So it's really fun right now. And I'm interested to see what it's going to look like in the year, because once it opens up to everyone, it's going to be a whole new place. So I'm enjoying the little community that it is right now.
That's what's also so cool about connecting with these newer platforms as they launch, because we can really see it from the beginning. I'm
Mm-hmm.
flashing back to my early days in social media marketing when Instagram and Facebook were like new. And then
Yeah.
now when I go on, they completely change the interface. Now they have the business suite. They're trying to compete with all those third-party platforms that
Mm-hmm.
used to do the scheduling. It's like, no, no, do it all in Facebook so we can track all your data.
Yeah.
So I'm curious from your perspective as a marketer, how you've been supporting businesses and evolving with these constantly updating algorithms and interfaces.
Yeah, and you know what? Regardless of what app you're in, there's some factors that are always remain true, like the consistency of the app, and your people. Like I think we forget, it's not really about the algorithms, it's not the people. One nuance, I think, if anyone's new to social media, the nuance it is like it's not about followers. I know people who have six-figure businesses with under 5,000 followers, and it's never about the followers anymore or the vanity metric. It's really about the value in your community, because I know people with very small numbers who have very successful businesses, and it's not about the followers. It's really about the community you want to build. And if you have the right people, those metrics doesn't matter. I think 2 years ago, a girl with, I think she had like 100,000 followers, and she tried to sell a T-shirt, and she could for $25, and she couldn't sell five. So that was an indication that followers are not no more our matrix. Our metrics is really about the quality of our conversations. Now it's all about DMs. Our algorithms have changed. It's more about authentic conversations. So anyone who's a big marketer, anyone who's got a really big marketing business, they're doing social, we call it social selling. And
Mm.
that's really taking conversations to the DM and actually talking to people who have maybe engaged in your stories, engaged in saying, oh, you like my product, my fitness program, my business, how can I help you? And that's where it is. Everything's happening in the DMs now. It's not in our feeds, it's in our stories. We've told Instagram and Facebook we like videos and real life stuff. That's why everything happens in those areas right now.
It's going down in the DM.
Down in the DMs, man. That's why all the sales, I know people are closing big clients in social media DMs right now, because they're not happening in the feed. They're legit happening in stories and DMs, taking people there, and people are closing clients, building relationships, filling their programs, building, making events and communities. That's where they're all happening right now.
I love that perspective because it's also emphasizing the importance of that human to human connection. And what's
Mhm.
also great about the constantly evolving interface is that now in Instagram DMs, you can send voice notes. And that was a huge game changer for me. But the one caveat is that it sends even if you want to re record it.
Yes, you gotta be
So
perfect. They need to delete or like, are you ready to send? Because I think Messenger, Facebook Messenger has that. You can like record and it will kind of like ask you before you send it. Now it's just like, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, but I guess it really demonstrates the realness because it's like, oh, I didn't mean to send that. Let me
Yeah.
send another one.
And now people are connecting Clubhouse and Instagram, right? So now you are in Clubhouse having a talk about digital wellness. Hey, I've got a great resource. I've seen people, I got so many followers just by telling people what I do. Like Clubhouse is like totally growing people's Instagram accounts right now because people are loving, it's like a webinar. It's like going to someone's event, loving them, and then going and buying their products or following them. It's those two work so well together. I love it.
I think that's amazing. And I really appreciate you sharing your expertise in this new domain because everything is evolving. So we just need to keep up with it.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. So, applying your social media background and everything that you learned in the digital wellness certification, what have been the three really foundational practices that have helped you continue flourishing beyond completion of the course?
I think I talk to people this all the time. I think it's the original core, I think roadmap that digital wellness talks about the knowledge, embodiment and empowerment. Because
Mhm.
I would love to be like I'm a digital wellness expert, but I'm still in embodiment, and I don't think we get to skip embodiment. It'll be really nice. Like I got the knowledge. I'm going to transform my life today. No, that's not it. It's still a lot of work. It's still a mindful practice that doesn't happen. So I don't feel like the destination ever really gets there. It's like yoga, it's like you continue practicing, there's always a new challenge. So behavior does not change that much. So give myself grace that I'm still in the embodiment phase is something that's been very, very changing for me. Just give myself grace as I go along. And the second one, I think it's the whole productivity and focus and knowing there is no magic bullet. My productivity is only going to be as powerful as how long I can stay focused. So that was like also game changing because I think we do believe that if I do this and I do that, and there's a whole productivity shame that goes on with having a busy badge and how much did I get today. Um, and that's something I tell my clients, like, okay, there's no busy badge. Let's do that one thing that's going to really transform your business. Instead of saying, let's do social, tweak my bio. Like, no, you just need to do that one thing you want to do. So my productivity focus and what it means to truly be productive has completely changed my mind. And, to having solitude, I think being quiet and alone with my thoughts and that being okay to put my tech and be bored, to like search for boredom is a practice that's hard, but I'm trying to also be comfortable with.
I love it so much. Those are great practices. And I really appreciate the giving grace to ourselves because that's probably the biggest challenge we're going to face continuously throughout our lives is we are our biggest roadblock. So when we're able to have self-compassion and be like, it's okay that you want to use your computer right now, but it's getting late and you want to go have a night's rest. So why don't you appreciate that solitude? And if your mind is racing, maybe pick up a journal and put pen to paper instead of the blue light because that just keeps us up and then it's the whole self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Staying away from the blue light and doing, like you said, like I can find the answers inside myself. I think we've tried to find our answers in the internet, and our brains are not the computer. I think there's a shift in thinking, oh, because, and that's the thing with people work online, we're so accustomed to the quickness of a computer. We think our brain should be that think our conversation should be quick, and we are not a computer. We are supposed to be slow. We're supposed to digest, and that's a big mistake that I think a lot of us fall into working online and our relationship with tech is thinking it should be fast. And and we are trying to slow it down with meditation, with yoga, with, unpacking our stress. That's what we're trying to do. We try to program our brain to slow down.
It's so important, and I feel like that also connects back to the solitude, but also the knowledge, embodiment, and empowerment because that's a cycle. Like, I see
Mhm.
that as a continuous process that we need to embrace patience with, and I've been trying to remind myself, "Slow down, do one thing at a time." I literally have Post-it notes, like, pause, because sometimes we just get wrapped up in this, and I feel like with the technology and how it's the 24-hour news cycle, you can constantly refresh your feed. There's always something new. How do
Yeah.
we break out of that and then really just be present in the moment because that is our gift?
I know. I think yesterday I was on Clubhouse and I actually got to the end of it. I was like, oh my God, it's not a bottomless bowl. It actually stopped because that's how new Clubhouse is. I actually got the end of the rooms and I was so happy that there was an end. Because I'm sure when it opens up to the world, there will be no end of rooms. So the fact that I can scroll 3 times and be like, you've seen every room available to you, it'll say to me, follow more people. I'm like, this is good. I don't need to see anymore. So I actually appreciate that in an app to stop for me.
I love that so much, and I feel like because there is infinite content online,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps we need to incorporate our own processes of like, okay, it's time to stop, you reach the end. And with the like timers on the iPhone, when those pop up, I honestly get mad. I'm like, why? I was in the middle of doing this. And sometimes I'll do one more minute or 15 minutes, and then I'm like, for the rest of the day, I'm done.
Do you put a timer on your phone? I love that. I need to put a timer for my. I never thought of doing that, but I kind of want to time myself. I give
It's a
myself
long-term
binging hours.
relationship.
I give myself a binging like time block where it's like, okay, just binge your gossip stuff. Just binge. Just have so I go to everything I want intentionally. But I
Mhm.
try not to have my brain wander. And I think sometimes when you work on something hard, it's like, I don't want to write this sentence. I kind of want to check my phone. That's when I feel like I even catch myself when I'm doing something that's high, deep work. I kind of want the distraction because I don't want to complete what I'm doing. So I'm also mindful, like, okay, why am I reaching for my phone? Oh, I'm
Wow.
doing something very difficult right now. My brain is trying to protect itself because I'm burning calories because our brain is are protecting ourselves. So when we do seek distraction, that's really our brain just saying, hey, you're doing something really hard. I don't want to do this. Let's look at our phone. And I think that's how our brain has kind of helped protect us is by looking for a distraction.
That's such an important sequence because I feel like that's applicable to everyone, and it's reminding
Mhm.
me of the habit tricks that Amy and Nina included in the ebook of what is the trigger, and if that's deep work and you're hitting your boredom phase, and instead of reaching for your phone, perhaps standing up or looking out the window, even just changing our field of view can completely spark our creativity, so then when we come back to that deep work, we have a fresh perspective. So that's something we could be accountable and challenging ourselves with of noticing when is it that we're trying to reach for the phone, of getting out of our deep work or whatever the task at hand might be, and then saving it for, I know I have a 15-minute binge break coming up and I can do it
I
all.
mean, what do they do when times at Bridgeton? They have to go on a promenade, right? It's like, let's go on a promenade. We're in Bridgeton land right now. So my girlfriends and I and COVID were like, let's go for a social distance promenade. It's like that's what they did. They didn't reach for their phones, they went for promenade. So we need to bring back the promenade.
I
That's
love that. To bringing back the promenade in any moment, no matter where we are.
I'm a big Bridgerton fan. Have you watched it?
Not yet, but I
Oh
love
my
the
goodness.
metaphors.
You'll understand this conversation. It'll close this whole loop. That's what you're doing this weekend. You totally have to watch Bridgerton so you can understand exactly what that meant.
I love it. On the bucket list. Well, I
Definitely.
appreciate all of the wisdom and insights that you've shared about your digital flourishing journey. Is there one last takeaway that you'd like to share to close our conversation?
I would like just to illustrate pretty much what you repeated that I said. It was like just giving yourself grace. This is such a journey, and I think once you incorporate it, I think that's when you're going to see so many changes in your lives and the way you feel, the way you show up. Especially for me, in my work, I see it instantly because I'm always checking my how I feel and showing up. Because if I'm not feeling good, my business literally suffers if I am and tech overload and distress. So knowing that there is a way to cope with that, that I am in control, that that it's going to be okay, that I can control this. And grace has been the best thing because I did have a binge fest last night, and I was like, oh, it's okay. I did binge an hour, and I didn't want to, and that was fine. I didn't shame myself. I was
Mm,
like, tomorrow will be better.
the courage of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Absolutely.
And where can we stay up to date with all of your latest journey updates?
Great. You can find me. My website is chidosamantha.com, and my handle on Instagram is chido_Samantha. And I'll be sharing all my digital wellness resources on chidosamantha.com/digital wellness.
I love it. And what about Clubhouse?
Clubhouse Chido_Samantha. You and I are gonna host a Clubhouse room. I'm telling you, I'm pulling you in.
I'm so
We're gonna do it.
excited.
We're
The
gonna do it.
adventure continues.
Adventure continues.
Thank you so much. And until next time, bye.
Bye.